Hi there. My name is Geoff Slagle, and I'm the President and Chief Business Development Officer for Scytáles. And I'm really thrilled that you're joining us today for a great conversation with a new business partner of ours, Vicky, in Singapore, and also a product showcase discussion around one of the Scytáles products, the Mobile Validator for Travel Documents, or the MVT. I'm joined today by two very special guests, a colleague of mine who is the Chief Technology Officer for Scytáles, Vangelis Sakkopoulos, and also Vicky's CEO and co-founder, Joseph Gan. Right now, I'd like to go ahead and turn things over to Joseph to say a word or two about Vicky.
Yeah, I've always been a huge fan of biometric-based passport validation. I think it really combines fantastic security with really very good user experience as well, because everything is done digitally. Of course, it's also nice to have some flexibility around identity cards and all that, but nothing really matches the security and speed of being able to validate with a biometric passport. And I think it's really nice to be able to work on this together, because I see fantastic synergies between our two companies. I think we have seen huge traction with our customers around their digital transformations in areas like digital banking, digital payments, and digital government deployments. And these guys are rolling out to millions of end users. And very often the one key thing that they're always trying to figure out is, how do I quickly onboard new users, right? If I've got 1 million existing customers, that's well and good. How do I get the next million? How do I get the next 10 million really quickly and easily with minimal friction? And that's really where the user experience, the speed of onboarding using a digital process is really critical when you talk about such digital use cases. But I think very importantly as well, if you are in the business of needing to onboard a customer digitally, you also want to know that this guy or this lady is really a guy or lady behind the screen, right? You need to know that the photo has not been replaced, that the photo being validated is not pulled down from Facebook, and that all this process is done securely in the mobile device, and it's not being spoofed by an attacker pretending to be your your application, but it's actually just sending some web requests from his server and so on, right? And that's really where the security comes in as well. So I think we're really excited to partner by providing our solution, VUS, to secure those transactions by ensuring that the data being sent to the server is signed so that the server knows that it's coming from a trusted application and it's not been tampered with by an attacker as well. And that's really critical. We are seeing that, as the number of transactions increase dramatically, it's actually becoming really attractive for hackers as well to start fraud cases, to actually set up fake identities. You might have a promotion running to say, oh, I'll give you all this when you sign up for a bank account with me, when you sign up for a mobile wallet with me. And the guy's going to be like, oh, this sounds great. I'm going to set up 1 million accounts and get $5 per account and scam you of $5 million, right? So all this kind of onboarding security is really critical when you start thinking about really rolling this out at a mass scale in a fully automated fashion without having to have human input, because you know that you can trust that validation is done securely, that is done automatically, and is being protected by the strongest technology on the mobile device.
Thank you, Joseph. I agree, and certainly we've seen quite a bit of interest growing in this area, and now I'd like to go ahead and I'd like to turn the conversation over, and I'd like to start talking a little bit about the MVT app that Scytáles has, and go ahead and ask Vangelis. Vangelis, can you describe for us, and can you tell us in your own words, what exactly is the MVT?
Thank you, Geoff. Thank you, Joseph. So Scytáles Mobile Validator for Travel Documents is, in short, MVT. And it is an app that helps you to actually read and verify electronically and securely all and any ICAO travel document, such as passports, residence permits, or electronic identities that carry in them an NFC contactless chip. The app is available for Android and iOS operating systems, therefore actually covering a maximized smartphone worldwide arena of devices. And this means that the specific app is possible to be used by an everyday phone to actually perform a high securely validation of any travel document that all of us carry with us, either in our everyday world where we have EIDs or when traveling around. The specific app has been also modular enough to be available as a standalone app, but also as an API and an SDK that can be used in order to be integrated to other existing apps, either for the phone or for desktop devices. So in short, that would be the Scytáles mobile validator for travel documents. And yeah, I think that mostly covers it.
Okay.
Geoff, back to you.
Okay, thanks, Vangelis. I appreciate that. So I guess one of the questions that comes up with some regularity is how are companies and how are these products differentiating themselves from one another? In other words, what are some of the elements of the MVT that maybe sets it apart from the competition? And would open that question up to either of you to sort of weigh in with what you think are those things that help to differentiate.
So if I may, Geoff and Joseph, with your permission, I believe that MVT is actually a product that has been developed by a company that is specifically partnered up to focus on electronic validation. So our background and our experience comes from certificate and security on a cryptographic level. So we are mainly experts on really performing high secure validation on the NFC data that you have with that passport or that ID that you might carry. The mobile app actually is a cell. It's a virtual little vehicle that helps you carry our technology with you. This means that we are specifically trying to do all the necessary basic or extended control and access management that needs to be done in order to secure actually that what you read from a passport is, firstly, very well read, secondly, not changed on the way between the SDK and the document itself, and thirdly, being verified against valid certificates and its document signing owners. This means that we are particularly paying attention in order to see whether the specific document is fully ICAO compliant and also check any possible deviations that or exceptions that might happen in order to verify that a specific trusted issuing authority is the actual issuer of the particular passport or travel document, let's say in general. So let's say the key differentiator for us is that we are putting into code our long experience on validating securely certificates and therefore the information that we might sign for them. Now, another differentiator that we could say is that we have worked hard into performing very fast NFC reads using our apps. So we are trying to maximize the throughput that the NFC, the different NFC actually antennas that are available across the different devices around the smartphone world. And we have achieved to minimize actually the reads into only few seconds per passport or document in general. Now, the last thing that I would like to mention is the user experience. So we have kept the flow that the user needs to follow in order to do the validation really simple and straightforward, following long experience close to officers of the law and border controllers that are doing this for life in every day and every night, all around the 24/7 schedule at the gates of each another country around the world. So we have actually reviewed closely lots of experienced people, and we have worked side by side for several years in order to find and fine-tune the little things that the UX need to make this app really quick to use. Geoff or Joseph, the floor is yours.
Those are all excellent points, and I want to go back to something that you just brought up, and that is that you talked about frictionless, or at least the inference that one of the things that users are looking for is perhaps something that is a little bit more seamless in whatever their experience might be. And so there's different sides that are trying to be looked after, and different sets of needs that are, kind of in the mix, from the side of the solution provider, obviously, to the side of the customer. Can both of you share what some of those engineering decisions are that maybe you're having to make with your product design to ensure that the user experience is one that is good? And one of the things that we are hearing more and more is a desire for customization. And so a peek into that would be helpful, and also better understanding what maybe some of the limitations could be. And either one of you, please feel free to jump in. So Vangelis or Joseph, doesn't matter who goes first.
Thank you, Geoff, if I may. Now, yes, in being frictionless is particularly important. We are following an idea to actually validate users and provide a proof of possession of a hard and highly secure document through the MVT app. And the process that users should follow should be something simple and should only take few seconds overall. The tweaks that we have done here is that we are following typical approaches that mobile phones use, instead of doing the exact movements that the officers of the law do when they're using their passport checking machines, which are usually desktop. So actually the user experience had to be re-engineered in order to be able to provide it through the mobile. Now, it is particularly important what Joseph said, that onboarding and actually knowing your customer could be actually an issue to scale. And through MVT, we are giving a fully customizable solution apart from the off-the-shelf app, and a fully modular approach with an SDK for any company or any bank or any onboard need out sector of any vertical market to use actually a document that people are having at home without any extra or special device than a typical smartphone carrying an NFC, which are nowadays available from a price really lower than $75 already. So you can have this at home or on every home practically with quite high expectation to find them. And the level of customization that we can achieve is actually really depending on the end customer. So we can split the secure checking of certificates and the camera reading of the machine readable zones, the 3 or 2 line letters and codes that every passport and ID has, or even split the way that the data are sent back to the server. Therefore, creating the flow and putting this module into an existing process that might be somewhere in a given market.
Yeah, I think user experience is really very critical. And your question about trade-offs is interesting as well, right? I think, as a cybersecurity company, of course, it is really important to us. It is at the core of our DNA to make sure that whatever we are doing is secure. And, our customers put their trust in us. So they don't expect us to have to make major compromises around that in order to achieve the user experience as well. So whenever we design anything, whenever we roll anything out, we're always thinking, how do I maximize the user experience, but do this in a way that is secure, right? But one of the things, and that's really the core of our DNA, right? One of the things that we have really believed from the very beginning is, of course, first and foremost, if you design the process well, you can actually design security into the system and not actually have to compromise on the user experience. But the second thing is I'm a bit of I used to be a bit of a car nut, not so much now perhaps, but I always think of this whole thing about maximizing security and user experience as a bit of a performance envelope. Maybe I'm just too much of an engineer, right? So on one hand, you have the security that you're trying to take care of. On the other hand, of course, you have the user experience. And you can think of it as a bit of like a curve, right? And you kind of need to decide where on the curve you want to end up. But I think, if you put the effort into the security, you put the effort into the user experience, there's a lot you can do to actually push that curve out and actually improve both the user experience and the security. Or even if, for example, Vangelis, I love they talk about the customizability. There may be some customers that say, I'm rolling out this particular use case, and yes, I do need some security, but user experience is paramount. And you say, oh, by the way, yes, in fact, because we have done so much around this space, we can kind of push the bar up around the user experience, but still get you, very good security. Or you might go to maybe a government use case, right? And they say, I need to do this for, maybe the military. I need to do this for a really highly secured area or, highly secured application. I want this to be usable, but security is paramount. And you say, no problem, I can still make the user experience really good, but I can push your security bar all the way to the maximum and still get you very good user experience. And of course, for most other use cases, you can have a very balanced use case where you can say, we give you better security and better user experience than the other solutions that you see out there, just because basically we know what we're doing, right? And we can really maximize that for what you're trying to do. So I think, both are really important, but it is actually very possible to give you very good user experience with extremely good security at the same time.
That's fantastic. And I know that has been a challenge in the past where it seemed like that those might have been more exclusive, that in delivering convenience or something that at least is perceived by the customer as something that is easy for them, is convenient and better, that maybe a corner has to get cut in delivering that. So all of these advances. And as you said, the pushing of the envelope certainly is great because ideally we should be able to have both. And it's nice to know that Vicky and Scytáles have been committed to that. And I guess one of the things that also goes hand in hand with this is it at least is implicit that along with the security comes benefits connected to privacy. And I know that that's one of the things that the two companies probably are priding themselves on is that privacy is certainly something that has been in mind in the development of the solutions and is not something that was an afterthought. So a word or two, if you want, on how you have been doing what you've been doing with privacy in mind.
Yes, I know we were talking about this the other day, I remember. I think one of the key things is, I remember that your biometrics, for example, can be done purely on the end user's device, both in terms of the matching, as well as what we call liveness detection, right? And I mean, I guess for our listeners who may not be so familiar with what liveness detection means, it's basically making sure that the video that your phone camera is seeing is really a real person, a real human being, right? It's not just me, Facebook or from his LinkedIn and saying, yes, I'm Geoff, I am who I am and so on. But so liveness detection is really critical, but at the same time, the ability to do that offline from the mobile application without actually having to send the photograph to the backend server actually is really fantastic for privacy. It allows both the customers as well as, of course, the companies rolling out the system to have the confidence to know that we don't have to capture photos and videos unnecessarily. Of course, a nice side effect is you don't need to take up a lot of internet bandwidth as well, right? Which is really important in a lot of the developing countries, for example, that our customers are trying to roll out new digital solutions in. So I think having a lot of these mechanisms means that when you roll out something around biometrics, for example, which always can be a sensitive topic, because some people just don't like having their facial recognition, even for some onboarding. But the ability to reassure the customer and say, none of this is leaving your mobile phone. We are able to do all of this securely. Your privacy is fully protected. Makes it really great for the end user, makes it really easy to convince the regulators why this is secure and private and really privacy protecting for their consumers and civilians as well. Really helps with the digital rollouts, right? I mean, one of the things that we security professionals always get the bad flag for is being the gatekeeper, stopping the projects, saying, no, you can't roll this out because it's not going to pass my security compliance requirements and all that. And I think being able to go to a client and say, hey, we're happy to talk to your regulators, happy to talk to your compliance folks, and explain to them, the business folks want to roll out this fancy new digital onboarding thing. It's going to make them lots of money, but at the same time, we can tell you why it's fully secure and fully private and able to pass all the checkboxes that you're looking for. I think that's really a great value proposition.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. Vangelis, did you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, that's really correct what you have said, Joseph, that privacy concerns are rising all around the world, and regulators are always asking when it comes to government, but even for the private concern itself, it is important to say that it is a process that can really mitigate the risk of a bad onboarding, an unsuccessful onboarding, or a fake onboarding, which is actually supporting a very good privacy protection regulation or law. And in that, what I mean is that any country or process that uses a secure document to actually do onboarding actually can share less private data in order to onboard someone, share less information about an individual that might have to actually land and go to another private or other governmental entity to further process in order to decide whether you are that person that is being on board, rather than in our case using an electronic travel document and reading it through the phone. Actually, you validate yourself in place there in your own room, in front of your own smartphone, and you don't really need to share any more or additional information than the signature that is validated there, and only the minimal, only few fields and information that need to be shared in order to do business for the specific knowing your customer or onboarding process. So not only the process itself is secure enough, and we can very well explain this to any regulator, but it also contributes to data minimization, to actually sharing less and less data when doing onboarding.
Yeah, which is incredibly important and is something that, again, the market has been asking for and talking about quite a bit in the recent past. Well, I'd like to try to maybe wrap up our time together with a question on the importance of interoperability and complying with standards. I know that at the heart of much of the work that's being done in both Viki as well as Scytáles is standardization and investment in those standards. Can you say a word or two about the importance of that? And not that anybody expects you to have a crystal ball, but if you were to look into the future and sort of want to share your thoughts around what are some things to be on the lookout for, I think that our viewers would find that interesting. And maybe go ahead and start with Vangelis, and then let Joseph have the last word.
Yeah, that's right. Interoperability is something that will help people travel, will help people use electronic services, and will help people do more and more efficiently business around the world. Interoperability is actually something that has been highlighted lots of years before. However, the technologies that have been around didn't allow the, let's say, effectiveness and low cost adoption of that. That's why we have ended up in the past in several different islands of technologies where you couldn't go from one island to the other without actually spending lots of investments. Now, as the software industry in general, as well as the smartphone industry, is growing up, moving from its infancy to actually a more mature state, we are having a situation where the environment to achieve interoperability is more and more welcoming. Therefore, our joint, I would say, effort here is to put secure and really expertly built software in the use of the everyday customer of any market for traveling, banking, education, small, medium business transactions, and much more than typical governmental authorities interactions. Having in mind that people will be able now more and more not just having their email in the cloud, but actually doing more and more business in the cloud and all around the world. Therefore, the necessity to minimize their data shared and actually prove themselves, actually validating themselves against the strong travel document is more and more coming. And in a last sentence, I would say that interoperability is just a must.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. Joseph, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think standards conformance is absolutely critical. I think as a company, we have actually built our solutions to multiple standards that are internationally recognized in order to make sure that, first and foremost, of course, interoperability is there. And also so that we can reassure our customers that we do meet to various security standards that they are looking for and that they recognize as well. And I think, especially from a biometric validation perspective, standards conformance is critical, right? Over 100 countries in the world support the biometric passports and have deployed that for their citizens. So really, when you roll out a biometric passport-based, eKYC validator solution, you are actually able to reach out to almost everybody in the world, both in your home countries, but even the travelers, the foreigners living and working in those countries as well, right? Whether they're carrying a US driver's license, whether they're carrying a Canadian passport, that biometric passport standard is supported globally. And that's really reassuring when you want to extend your reach to, the most people that you can, right? Of course, you can do identity card as well, but you then need to support identity cards from 100 plus countries in order to have that same type of reach as well. So I think this is really a critical piece in ensuring that reach around that, that standards conformance as well. But standards conformance, I think, for both our companies also is a commitment, that, what we develop today is not just simply locked in time. I think, based on our discussions, I think we are both really agile. We are both committed to making sure that our solutions continue to keep up with the latest standards, continue to, meet what we require in order to be interoperable with all the new things that are going on. Right? I mean, just an example, I do have banking customers who say, great, I love VKey, I love your application protection solution, but I also love that you're able to bring more solutions as I grow together as well. And I think similarly from a mobile validation perspective, I think having that reassurance to know, right now I can roll this out for this identity solution, but in 5 years down the road, when ICAO comes out with some new updates, maybe we have iris recognition, maybe we have palm recognition. I know that we will be at the forefront of that and be able to keep up with whatever new standards there are out there as well. So I think that's really what we aim to achieve with our customers when we commit to conforming to such standards, not just at a single point in time, but really at the core of our DNA, at the culture of all that we do and all that we build.
Well, I want to thank both of you for the discussion today. It absolutely has been fantastic, and it's one that I would really love to revisit. I think that this is the start of a very good and a very solid dialogue that people are going to be very, very interested in. And so thank you for those of you who tuned in to watch this. We hope you enjoyed it, and we hope that in the future you'll check back with us on other exciting developments for products and solutions that can assist you in the things that are important to you and that you're doing. And so I want to thank again my colleague Vangelis and also my new colleague Joseph for the time today. Thank you, gentlemen, and thanks for tuning in.